He's a 4-year-old. I think there's plenty more to come from him. And I'll be willing to give him a chance at 6-1.
But the one for me, a bigger price that I want to keep on size, and it goes completely against the stats I just mentioned there, but I just think he's well handicapped.
I really do think every one of its runs has been best when fresh.
Hello and welcome back to the Only Fools of Horses YouTube channel. We are past the Cheltenham Festival. We've got the Aintree Festival on the horizon, but before then, we're switching coast to the flat. Yes, the turf season is back momentarily before we go back to the jumps, but it is the Lincoln back this weekend at Doncaster. The first stop on the UK flat turf season for 2025-2026. We've got the Guineas as well coming up as well. We're going to be focusing on the Lincoln this weekend. We've got 3 races to put under the microscope. A little look forward to Aintree as well in company of the boys as usual. Harry, I know you're buzzing, absolutely buzzing for the return of the flats. You are the #1 flat man. So are you excited for this weekend?
Yeah, mate, absolutely can't wait. It looks to be a great weekend. It shows how much I love it that I'm off to Uttoxeter on Saturday. Now I just love jumps. I just can't get my head. Lee will back me up on this, and I was speaking to him in the week. It just takes a bit of a while just to switch. You know, it's just kind of like I can't describe it. I'm still fully in jumps mode. You know, we've not got Aintree out of the way. We've not got Punchestown out of the way. And then even then, you're looking. We've not even got the Market Racer and Lincolnshire National out of the way. You know, no, but we've it's one of those. It's after Punchestown. That's when I'll switch.
Yeah, Lee, Harry's bang on. It is tough to switch from jumps to flat and flat to jumps when we sort of get the changeovers. We're not truly doing it because it is literally just one weekend, and then it's Aintree, and then we've got Scottish National and everything. So it is probably still a good month or so of the jumps left. But it's a good weekend, the flat this weekend. I'm looking forward to it anyway. So it looks like a proper competitive Lincoln, and then some nice listed races as well.
Yeah, look, I don't mind these early doors ones, and yeah, look, I'm still in jumps mode, exactly like Harry, and we do take a little while to switch over, but like you say, we've got Aintree next week, so we'll do a preview for that. And yeah, the Lincoln, great.
I have to say, of the 3, I'm probably the most flat man of the trio. I do love the flat. I love the jumps as well. I am a jumps man through and through, but I do love the flat. Get my first mention for Tony Carolyn on the podcast in a while. Aintree is next weekend, though, gents. We got news today that potentially Lossiemouth could go to the Aintree Hurdle. That can mean she could take on Constitution Hill and Bryce Days Ahead. Lee, that would be some clash, wouldn't it? We didn't get to see that at all in the Champion Hurdle. We got to see Constitution Hill against Bryce Days Ahead. We could get the 3 of them in the Aintree Hurdle, flat track, 2 mile 4. That could be some race, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely, Ash. Look, it's a case of leaving the door open for State Man at Punchestown and having Lossiemouth, take that different route. If you went off the Champion Hurdle, you'd think, look, Constitution Hill might have Afro in him, and then the mare, Bright Days Ahead, she didn't perform, and she could do so again. She did, really impressively win at Aintree last season after running second in Golden Ace. Look, the form's working out fine, I suppose. Golden Ace is a Champion Hurdle winner, but yeah, look, it'll be an interesting race. I'm looking forward to it. And I seen Gordon Elliott, look, he says the likes of a Croke Park and stuff like that will take, and maybe even Tupu going for a race there. He's got plenty of options, and it livens things up. And look, the problem is that we've got that small gap. That's the only thing. But yeah, look, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And if anybody's there, come and say hello.
Yeah, I was worried that we maybe weren't going to get so many horses at Aintree, but with the likes of Croke Park, Tupu, made Bryce Days Ahead, Lossiemouth, Constitution Hill, we could get more than I was expecting. Harry, just on this fight, and we will sort of preview the 3 races we've got in mind for Lincoln weekend, but just quickly while we talk about Aintree, 2 questions for you. First of all, it was mentioned in the week that Constitution Hill is going to probably come here, and Nick Henson's very much leaving the door open to do Aintree and Punchestown, 29 days in between the 2 races. Could you see that in your mind, in very simple sort of yes or no? Could you see that happening? I haven't answered myself, but could you see that happening? And B, obviously the Grand National is the big race itself. Have you started looking at the race ahead of our preview next week?
Yes, I have. Well, for the latter, I have started looking. I started looking actually straight after Cheltenham. But in regards to Constitution Hill, in my head, I'd love to say yes. Or heart, I should say. Heart, I'd love to say yes. Head, I can't see it happening.
Yep, I think I agree as well. I'm the optimist. I love to be an optimist, but I'm not sure Constitution Hill would do the both. But I'd love to be proven wrong. Lee, what about you?
Just quickly on that though, like, it takes a certain type of horse, and they have to look at. I think that it's not the gap like you've just said. It's 29 days. That's fine from Aintree to Punchestown, but it's the
horse.
It's it's the horses and the Constitution as well, but it's Constitution, but it's the gap from Cheltenham to Aintree, which is off-putting for me, to try and then do the treble. To then, you've got to give it all over 2.5 to then. That I don't know. Look, the gap between Cheltenham and Aintree is the problem, I think. But look, the type of horses that have tried before, Sprinter Sacra, it kind of took it all out of him when he done the treble, and he had to step up a trip at Aintree and then go to Punchestown. And I thought, look, he won by class at Punchestown, so to try and do the treble is very hard, I think. We know, look. Has Nicky dodged stuff in the past? Maybe I don't think he has. I just think the way things are panned out. But will he want to keep risking them? I don't know. I don't think the treble will work. I really don't.
It's funny how these things work. The news came out on Saturday and everyone was like, "Oh, rubbish!" But then now he's going to Aintree and he could have Bryce Days ahead follow him and Losmer follow him, which would arguably be the biggest clash of the season. So, it's funny how these things work out.
Maybe how he performs in Aintree will be the difference of what happened at Punchestown.
And I'd be very interested to see him back at 2.5 miles. He was a bit not disappointing, but it was definitely his worst performance.
No, I just think he had to make his own running then, didn't he? Took it up from an early stage. It was almost, do your own donkey work and charge it. Charge ran up his own. I do think the 2.5 miles won't be a problem because they'll go so quick. And because they'll go so quick, you're more than likely going to get a pace collapse, and they're all going to come to the fore, just like we saw.
But who, if they run them three, like, surely are they going to run King of Kingsfield again?
I assume so.
It's not taking your dog. It's not taking your dog for a walk without a lead. You're going to take both, aren't you?
They didn't look. The dog was missing at Cheltenham, though. That's the problem. The dogs went for
both the dog and the lead. They were both missing that day, so.
And the water ball because nobody turned up, and like King of Kingsfield they didn't really go no clip, did they? Like
weird race.
I think flat. Did anything come out about her or not?
Just said she was a bit just sore, I think, or something like that. But it was interesting. I was seeing her in the mornings, right? Don't know if it's like I know horses, but not to that level. But like she was on the gallops, very sort of like up on her haunches a bit, hanging her head a little bit off to one side. Like she wasn't exactly like she's quite a chill character usually, but like I thought that was rather interesting seeing her on the gallops the first few mornings. Like she looks a bit off.
Was sort of when she clattered into, like, was it Burdett Road or I think it was Burdett Road, trying to dodge. She went and she clattered into, I think it was Burdett Road after the last. Was she so off that or was she so before? I
don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, I couldn't trust her again after that. I know it sounds bad, even after she just wasn't there at all. I'm not saying she's not a good horse, but what's that taken out of her in Leopardstown? Is she going to reproduce that? I highly doubt it. And look, Lossiemouth, if she comes, she's out of the three of them. She was the most impressive last time out.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, the flat fans that have tuned in, let's go on to Doncaster. 3 races. They're in a line. We've got listed race, and then the Lincoln itself. Start with the Lincoln Cammidge Trophy Stakes. 11 entered at this current stage. Marshman's 3-1. James Delight is 7-2. Spy Catcher is 5-1. Witness stands 6s. Iberian 7s. Al Shabab Storm now with Marco Botti 8-1. Zoom Zoom the same price. Frost at Dawn's taking a bit of a drift in the market's 20s, and bigger the rest. Gentlemen, just want your rapid fire fancies here, and then we can bosh the free races out the way. Harry, you're such a flat man. Lee, you said you might not have one for this. Am I correct in saying?
I'm not going to lie, I've been to Hexham today and enjoyed the sun there. I've only got one for the Lincoln itself, so sorry.
We'll come to you for the Lincoln then. Cammidge, Harry, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm going to go Witness Stand in this one, actually. I was looking at this all this morning. I just think that obviously the trainer switch from Tom Clover to Dr. Richard Newland and Jamie Insall, who I think obviously will have a big year this year. They seem, obviously, because they've got two sort of yards. Now, I didn't realise that. They've obviously got a jumps yard and they've got the flat yard, which is about a 20-minute drive. And I just think that since they've had this horse, obviously, they took it over to Bahrain. Was it Bahrain? Riyadh? No, it's
Riyadh.
not Riyadh. It's Riyadh. They took it over to Riyadh and ran no sort of race. But it was on the ground that, this horse is never going to like. Good to firm. All of this horse's form is on soft ground. Had a really good end to the year last year, bar his last run, where he went over. He was at Newmarket. It just kind of things didn't go to plan. But his run before that at Newbury, he won the duty-free cup stakes at the listed. Beat an English Oak. Jumbie was in there. Witch Hunter was in there. He obviously lines up in a race after this. I just think that form is pretty good. He's got to carry top weight, which is it's not going to be ideal. But he's a 4-year-old. I think there's plenty more to come from him. And I'll be willing to give him a chance at 6-1 on the opening day of the flat calendar. It makes me feel sick.
Oh, it's beautiful to talk about the flat. When's the Brighton meeting, eh? Yeah, it's an interesting race to Cammidge. Obviously, it's going to be what a sort of thing through the opening weekend and the few weeks is sort of which horses are up for it first time out, and which horses maybe have race fitness against others. I'm willing to take a chance that Iberian might be an interesting one to keep on side in this. He's just been a horse that I remember. I remember when I was doing some work with William Hill a couple of seasons ago when Charlie Hill's yard was sponsored by William Hill. The amount that Charlie Hills was talking about this horse was like a lot. And I know Charlie tends to sort of hype up a fair few of his horses now, but he gave a big word to this horse. I remember I had a good chunk on him at Goodwood when he was beaten by Hartem, so not beaten by a bad horse there. Hartem finished second in an Irish Guinea since. He then beat Someway at Doncaster in a Group 2. Someway went on to win a Group 1 that season, then placed behind all those good horses as a 3-year-old last year. Ran behind City of Troy and Newmarket on his final start as a juvenile in the Dewhurst. Then last year, just a write-off. He started in the Guineas, didn't go for him. That was first time out after 203 days. Then went to Derville in a Group 1. Again, just didn't go for him, and then that was his season done. So he obviously had a bit of a setback last year. He came back at Suffolk in December, won, was a fine race in a Class 2 race. I just hope that he's going to go well first time out. If he does, I think he'll handle the ground fine. Like, he probably doesn't want it soft, even though he has won that Group 2 on soft ground. He doesn't want it like properly heavy, but it's good stuff now at Doncaster. It's going to be fairly dry weather through the week. I can see Iberian running a big race, and he's definitely a talented horse if he can put it all together. So 7-1 is not a bad price for him. The listed Doncaster Mile Stakes is the next race, 3 o'clock, the one before the Lincoln. Liberty Lane sort of had a very strong end to his season last year. He was second in a Doncaster Handicap. Then he won a Newmarket Handicap, the Cambridgeshire, and then second to lead artist in a Group 3. Dancing Gemini had some nice classic form from last season, 4-1. Botanical, 9-2. Point Linus, 7-1. Witch Hunter, been there, done that, 9-1. Check and Challenge 12s. Cicero's Gift, the same price, and bigger about the rest. Harry, anything in the Doncaster Mile?
I think Botanical's got a real big shout in this for Billy and Bowie. I think that this horse obviously won't mind any sort of ground. He's proven that you won at York on good ground. Now he is obviously still lightly raised because he had he's only had 9 runs in his career. He obviously his last run was at Goodwood, beating the short head behind Novus, but he was obviously second behind Emfjar, or however you say Emfjar, that horrible name, in the John Smith Cup. So I think obviously you've got 2 horses in there from the same connections that have the similar sort of profiles, if I'm not disrespectful in saying that, coming from a big handicap, running well, obviously Liberty Lane winning it, and then coming into stakes company. I just think Botanical at the price is 92. I think it's big enough, and I'm willing to just take a little stab.
Very good. I'm going to be interested to see how Chic Columbine runs in this for George Bowie at 14-1. I just remember again, leading us train and chat here, but she has been a horse that George Bowie has been very vocal about in sort of last season. They went on to sort of campaign as a French 1000 Guineas horse. She went and won in France in early March, and it was like bang, straight to the French 1000 Guineas. She was disappointing that day, but she absolutely bolstered up that day in France at Saint-Cloud in March. She beat Sparkling Plenty by 8 lengths. Sparkling Plenty had a fantastic season subsequently, finished third to Friendly Soul at the ARC meeting in a Group 1, finished behind Blue Stocking in a Group 1 over in Longchamp as well, third to Opera Singer at Goodwood, won a Group 1 herself. Like, just really, really good form that sort of franking that race that Chic Columbine won in early March pretty decently. Was then second at Epsom in the Princess Elizabeth Stakes behind Briege. Briege went and won again that season to frank the form. Just like got absolutely no run through that day, got stopped, came down the outside, beaten her neck, just a horrible run through, but still ran a really, really big race that day. She could be very interesting. She probably haven't got to the bottom of her yet. She's coming into this first time out. She obviously won that race in Saint-Cloud at the start of last season off a break. She won a race at Haydock in a handicap for a 70-day break. She does go well fresh. I can see her going well. Just a word to Witch Hunter, because he's coming in on the back of 2 runs. He could go well because he's got the race fitness, and he is just a fairly solid horse who's got no penalties. But yeah, Chic Columbine's one I'm interested about in the Doncaster Mile. Lincoln time, baby. It's a competitive handicap. Difficult enough. I think I found Migration one year, and that's the best I've done the Lincoln ever. But Thunder Run is the favourite, 6-1. Midnight Gun is 7-1. Native Warriors 8-1. Latem 12-1. Arandi same price. Goodwinson 18s. Bigger about the rest. Lee, we'll bring you in the Lincoln. You actually said to us on the live that you had one for this. Now, I'm not sure if this is a horse that has subsequently not been declared, because there's a couple of big guns that weren't declared earlier in the week. It looks like it was, but what's your... Oh, it wasn't. Okay, what's your Lincoln fancy then?
Look, I did look at the Run and Gun as well, like the two at the top of the market now. I looked before the other two had come out. Them obviously formed the market, and they were scratched the other day. The one I had was Latham. I really do think the key is going fresh. Won on debut, won a couple of seasons ago on seasonal debut. Come into this race last year off, I think it was £2 lower, and ran the eye-catching race, I would have said. Look, Mr. Professor got away. Look, you had Migration. I actually had Mr. Professor last year. And look, he had the run of the race, I would have said, Mr. Professor. Latam was the eye catcher in the race, I thought. And stayed on well into second. Ran some fair enough races in probably better contests, I would have said, in big handicaps. And last time out, when last seen, it was at Ascot's Champions Day. Again, I would have said an eye catcher, because drawn on the wrong side of the track, end of second, was gambled in. I really do think every one of its runs has been best when fresh. Was with William Haggis, now with Julie Camacho. Look, this has only been the only entry that I've seen for the horse for a while as well. So, like, kind of all roads have led back to this race. So I think you can shop about 4 places, 12s, Latam. I'm happy to weigh in again with last season's second, and hopefully you can go on to win.
Yeah, funny enough, when it was with William Haggis, it won the Irish Lincolnshire in 2023, first start of the season. So yeah, talented horse.
Was that the one that was 2 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I just honestly, I think like freshness is key, and they've kind of campaigned as well since going with Julie Camacho. Only had a handful of runs with Julie, but kind of campaigned them like that as well. That freshness is that angle, and the disappointing runs have probably come where it's maybe too soon for him. So they saved him again for the back end of the season there. But yeah, look, coming into this, I think that's key to him. And Yeah, I think he's still well handicapped. He's only a couple of pound higher.
Yeah, there you go. Latam for Lee.
As well, her yard is on fire. I can't remember the straight rate off the top of my head. I ramble all this off the top of my head, so apologies, but she's in really good form.
2 from 6 in the last 14 days, so 33%. So yeah, she's going well. She's had a third as well, 2/3 as well. So she's definitely in good form during the Camacho's yard. Harry, anything for the Lincoln competitive race? Have you found anything?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Native Warrior. I just think, obviously, because plenty of those have come out now in the last week. He's pretty much guaranteed. I think he needs one to come out to actually be guaranteed. Or obviously, there's 22, isn't there? There's a max field. I think 8-1's skinny enough, but I just think this horse is so unexposed. A mark of 93 that could be blown wide open in a race like this. You really need an unexposed one. And on the contrary, you're just going to need a miracle really to kind of get in. But I just think there's a horse down there called Naypoint. Now, Lee might know more. This is a bit of a northern runner that goes for Ed Bethel. But this horse was doing his running around Redcar, picked up a quick double back in August and October last year. Goes off a mark of 88. He probably won't get in. He needs about 17 to come out, so it's more than likely he won't. But
you've got to look, if Native Warrior doesn't get in, I'll eat me hat. But if he gets in, as well, like you've got no chance, I think.
And I just say he's definitely one to keep an eye on. If he's mark of 88, I think he's definitely going to be winning again this year. And
Noted.
Native Warrior is one on my shortlist. He's got a nice piece of form with Notable Speech from Kempton in April. That race has turned into a really, really hot piece of form. That 5-runner condition stakes. Notable Speech has obviously done what he's done. One of Sussex, one of Guineas. Persico was in third. That horse improved to a mark, I think, of 110. The 5th Witness Stand is a horse you've already given a nudge to, Harry. So that race is already working out nicely. And funnily enough, Native Warrior was third at Ascot behind Mickley, who went on to Hong Kong. Now, I was trying to find out what's happened to Mickley because you go over to Hong Kong, don't know what's going to happen with the horse. I heard that he had like a setback, something like that, but it's been running in Hong Kong in the start of 2025. And because only you want to Ascot off a mark of 90, he's going to Hong Kong and won what's the Racing Post saying off a mark of 76. But he won a handicap and then he finished behind a horse called My Wish at Shartin one day. Now, this would be a bit of information to people, but My Wish then just very recently, 2 days ago as we record, was beaten at a short head in the Hong Kong Derby and ran, I believe, the fastest 200 meters that Shartin's ever seen in its history. 400 meters. So I'm not saying that's a devilish piece of form that means that Native Warrior is a certainty, but it's just a fun piece of form that I like to bring to the
That's
podcast.
an absolutely masterminding question if I've ever seen one. What's the fastest horse to run the last 400 meters at Shartin, isn't it?
Yeah, My Wish in the 2025 Hong Kong Derby. That's just an interesting piece of form just to find out how Mickley's going, and I give Native Warrior a shout. I was looking at stats for this race. Just that as much as race fitness is quite cool, and I'm going to come on to that in a second, I think there's only 2 horses in the last 10 years that have won this off like a 44-day or lower break. So you can come into this first time out and go, well, you also have to have form around Doncaster, or at least ran around Doncaster. Native Warrior did that on his last start. Admittedly, it was disappointing. I just think he could be a very interesting and still well-handicapped horse. But the one for me, a bigger price that I want to keep on side, and it goes completely against the stats I just mentioned there, but I just think he's well-handicapped. Whip Cracker had a run at Wolverhampton early March just to get the fitness into him for Richard Hughes. Hasn't had a run at Doncaster at all, but he was second at Newmarket in the Field and Stakes behind JRB in April, was ahead of Caviar Heights, ahead of Ambient Friendly. Ambient Friendly obviously went on to run behind is it City of Troy now in the Derby. So the form is there. The form behind JRB is also there because JRB went and won group races and finished behind Economics over in France. So that form is just very, very good. Now, I know it's the start of the season, so it can be taken with a pinch of salt, but for a horse rated 97, and the way he's bred, I think Whip Cracker could be interesting in here, 20-1. So keep an eye on him, but also Native Warrior, completely see the case in the Lincoln. That's it, gents. We're not doing anything else. We're not doing, what's going on here, what's going on there. That is the previews. so we may as well wrap things up there. But we are going to be doing an Aintree preview next weekend. Probably quite a big one because we'll have the whole 3 days and then the national at the end. So make sure to stick around for that. Lee will be doing Saturday live, I assume, this weekend.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
We'll cover Donny there 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. Join us on Twitter. Please do go and follow. We do appreciate everyone's comments as well. Plenty of people are joining the last few weeks on the Twitter as well. We'll want to see all your naps and best each ways. But again, comment in here and in the box as well. What's your fancy for Lincoln weekend and the flat? Maybe give us one to follow for the flat.
Yeah, that's a good one actually.
And thanks everyone for the comments on our Cheltenham preview night, because I'm still reading through all of them now, even though it's about 2 weeks gone. There was that many of them, but no, really, and like you said, lads, the interactions is the whole reason we do it. We don't just do it just for us three. It's for everyone. And look, we might talk shit. We do talk shit, but it's as long as some people enjoy it, then that's the main thing.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that. Anyway, best of luck. If you're having to play on any fancies, please do it responsibly. We'll be back next week for the Aintree Grand National preview, so make sure to not miss that at all. Tune in on Saturday for the Saturday Live. Best of luck, and we'll see you very, very soon.